Hi.
Do you want to join us?
If I get caught cornering, I had to take my license away.
Fire lit the Riviera ballroom in 1964 when Elvis Presley locked eyes with Ann Margaret. Their chemistry ripped through Viva Las Vegas like lightning. Yet a hidden duel for dominance lurked behind every dazzling twirl. Was the king truly in control, or did this fierce newcomer steal the spotlight with one hypnotic spin? Today we peel back the velvet curtain and reveal the scorching clash that almost flipped Hollywood on its head. Before cameras rolled, whispers already surged through MGM sound stages. Elvis was the monarch of pop cinema, but executives sensed a storm when they hired a Swedish-American fireball whose spark could match his roar. Journey back to 1963. The studio thumped with energy as workers built lavish sets for Viva Las Vegas. Into that glow strode Ann Margaret Olsen, fresh off Bye Bye Birdie, radiating a charge so bright it felt dangerous. Elvis had conquered screaming crowds and box office charts, yet the moment he met her, the air tightened. Witnesses where the king paused, eyes widened with a look that mixed curiosity with alarm. Ann Margaret was no timid starlet. She moved like raw electricity. A current critic said had already outpaced 3 leading men. Industry chatter warned that only a giant could stand beside her, without fading into background blur. Elvis sensed a challenge and smiled with his famous southern warmth. But one could almost hear the gears turning. This was a partner who could elevate him or eclipse him. Their very first rehearsal crackled louder than the stage lights. They spoke little, instead trading rhythms, letting boots and hips carry a private conversation only true performers understand. And Margaret later wrote that they felt music the same visceral way. Elvis agreed through actions, matching her pulse for pulse, until the studio walls shook with applause from stunned crew. Soon word leaked that Viva Las Vegas might contain more truth than script. Reporters hinted at sparks offset, wondering if those steamy scenes mirrored real-life fires. Behind glittering costumes, the pair practiced in plain T-shirts, sweat dripping as choreographer David Winters pushed them to exhaustion. Winters, once Ann Margaret's dance student, understood her boundless energy and tailored routines that forced Elvis to reach higher. Helping Winters was Toni Basil, the vibrant dancer in the red dress by the pool. She drilled Elvis on power moves while guiding Ann Margaret through razor-sharp footwork. Each star learned alone at first, building suspense like loading dynamite. Then came the blast. Their first joint rehearsal hit Basil, like a shockwave. She gasped while then, "Oh my God," as the room erupted in cheers. Crew members felt the floor vibrate as Elvis and Ann Margaret spun in perfect mirror image fashion. Celluloid threatened to melt while cameras merely rehearsed. Even hardened studio accountants grinned, sensing ticket lines stretching around blocks once this chemistry hit screens. Yet, beneath the applause, a question festered. Could MGM control 2 supernovas exploding in the same frame? Some executives feared the king might look like a supporting act in his own picture. Film Inc. later noted that Elvis was perhaps the first man able to match her radiance. Fans soon debated who truly dominated that famous ballroom number. Each spin looked like a contest, each smile a subtle brag. Hollywood had long favored tidy hierarchies, but this pairing scrambled the order. None could deny that Ann Margaret commanded equal gravity, pulling viewers with magnetic force. On set, the atmosphere thickened with unspoken tension. Crew whispered bets on who would own the final cut. Director calls barked action while eyes darted between the leads, hungry to see who blinked first. What audiences finally saw felt spontaneous, almost unscripted. That is because much of it was Elvis and Ann Margaret often riffed beyond planned steps, chasing the beat toward brink of chaos, then landing together with explosive precision. Their duel became the film's heartbeat, boiling through songs, dissolves, and every neon frame of Las Vegas nightlife. It was art, competition, and raw attraction fused into a single unstoppable blaze. Imagine standing just out of frame while these 2 titans traded kicks under mirrored lights. Could you keep your breath steady? Reporters who visited said their skin prickled as though touching live wires. Off-set rumors multiplied. Some claimed stolen glances, late-night phone calls, and secret drives down desert highways. Whether love bloomed or not, the studio never confirmed, preferring to feed mystery that sold tickets. One truth cannot be denied. Without Ann Margaret, Viva Las Vegas would be a very different film. Without Elvis, Her spark might never have met its perfect foil. Together, they forge a classic that still sizzles 6 decades later. Even today, choreographers study those sequences, marveling at footwork that blends swing, rock rhythm, and Hollywood showmanship into pure kinetic fire. David Winter's career rocketed after the movie, proving that Margaret's faith in him was justified. Tony Basil, too, grew into a pop legend, yet both still recall the day Elvis and Ann-Margret first shared the floor as the moment lightning struck twice in one place. History books often highlight box office totals and soundtrack sales, yet the real treasure hides in unseen rehearsal reels, in slow-motion footage where every flick of a wrist tells a story. Archivists guard those clips like crown jewels. Fans rewatch the dance and argue about tiny details. Did Elvis tilt his head in playful surrender, or was he pushing harder than ever to keep the crown? Did Ann-Margret soften her power out of respect? Or did she secretly savor every chance to outshine the king? The answer depends on the eye of the beholder. But those who stood inches away swear they saw mutual admiration stronger than rivalry. Some say the dance even shifted Hollywood power forever, proving that a woman could hold equal sway next to the biggest male icon of the era. Studios took note, scripts changed, and new opportunities opened for blazing female talent. Yet behind that cultural quake, there remains a simple memory of 2 artists lost in rhythm, breathing as one, letting drums and guitars lead them beyond ego into pure creative blaze. That truth still glows every time the film starts, every time the horns kick, and every time Elvis pulls Ann-Margret close for that spin that seems to stop time. Watch again, and you might notice tiny sparks flying from their shoes. Listen, and you can almost hear the silent dare in each heartbeat. Witness the battle that made screen history, and decide for yourself who owned that floor. Pent-up passion roared beneath every beat of Viva Las Vegas. Wells of energy and maybe even frustration finally exploded through pure emotion, through each other, through dance. Ann-Margret remembered it in raw detail. We looked at each other and saw virtual mirror images. When Elvis thrust his pelvis, mine slammed forward too. That line still sparks like live wire. Their steps felt almost telepathic, way beyond careful counts or polished drills. Watch the lead-in to Come On Everybody. Today, and the shock still jumps from the screen. They glide as one living unit, yet guard their own fierce identities. A duet of equals blazing with fire and grace. This was not choreo alone. It was lightning trapped on film. Ann-Margret later called their link extraordinary, almost otherworldly. She added, "We both felt a current, an electricity that went straight through us. It would become a force we couldn't control." That word uncontrolled is vital, because it proves the magic was real, not a Hollywood trick. Before cameras rolled, her dancing power was public record. Life magazine hailed her by birdie moves, as so toured they almost replaced the central heating in the theater. She brought the same heat to Elvis, cranking every move from precise to thrillingly wild. So was this explosive flow only great coaching and hard practice? Or was it a once-in-a-lifetime meeting of artistic souls set ablaze by shared fire? Every wink, every perfect turn shouted their secret rhythm. The question burns louder. Had the king ever faced this kind of mirror before? Could any partner match him beat for beat? Challenge him, merge with him, and still shine alone? Roll the film again and decide. Look close. That mirror effect is crystal clear. As Ann-Margret's star burst brighter on set, whispers said even Elvis felt the heat. Rumor claimed she was not just dancing with him. She was dancing circles around everyone. Critics long insisted she flat out steals the stage during Come On Everybody. And the footage makes their case loud and clear. Gold Radio bluntly wrote, "She steals the show." Newsner sharpened the point, calling her the embodiment of the phrase "dance like no one's watching." Viewers could not look away. Her force was more than charm. It was high voltage commanding each frame. Director George Sidney saw that spark and chased it. Reports say his camera loved Ann-Margret, giving her extra angles, extra takes, extra close-ups, at times trimming the king's own screen space. Why risk riling the biggest star alive? Simple. Genius demands a lens. Sidney knew her dynamite presence was the film's heartbeat, the essential jolt that turned routine numbers into screen history. Elvis still blazed, but Ann Margaret's aura pushed the entire picture past safe limits and into legend. Behind that lens, another story flickered. Did Elvis feel edged out, or did he rise higher because of the challenge? Crew members noticed both leads pushing harder, faster, fiercer, like athletes locked in a friendly yet urgent race. Every shared spin confirmed the deep, wordless bond born from rhythm alone. The film captures that bond forever, daring viewers to pick a winner in those thrilling dance-offs. Who truly own the floor? The answer shifts with each rewatch. Some see the king hold steady control. Others swear the Swedish dynamo steals the frame. The only certainty is this: the combined fire still crackles after 60 years. And that raw, unstoppable current, the one they both said they could not control, is why the story still matters. It was real, it was rare, and it turned a simple rock and roll musical into an immortal showdown we cannot stop replaying. Watch closely. Some fans have caught something strange during Come On, Everybody. Elvis, known for perfection, appears slightly off during Ann Margaret's most electric moments. His lip-syncing slips. His focus drifts. But why? Many believe Ann Margaret's performance was just too powerful. Her wild energy lit up the screen so fiercely that even Elvis couldn't look away. And maybe neither could he concentrate. That subtle miss isn't just a fluke. It's a quiet sign of just how strong her pull was. A tiny detail that says everything. Their dance styles couldn't be more different. Elvis brought that raw, hip-swiveling, leg-shaking rock energy that had conquered the world. But Ann Margaret came armed with something else. Pure, trained precision wrapped in explosive energy. She didn't just move. She attacked the steps. Her body didn't follow the beat. It led it. She had the fire of a showgirl and the control of a professional dancer. Athletic, bold, unstoppable. Was a secret dance-off playing out before the camera? Or was she simply so naturally brilliant that she couldn't help but dominate the screen? Her moves didn't ask for space. They took it. Which leads to a bigger, more delicate question. How did Elvis feel watching this unfold? The king was used to being the one everyone watched, the center of gravity in every room. But here was a co-star who threatened to shine just as bright, maybe brighter, in his own film. In his strongest arena, music and movement. Did he feel jealousy creeping in? Was there a flicker of discomfort as Ann Margaret danced with unstoppable force beside him? Or was it admiration? A rare respect for someone matching his power step for step? We may never know for sure. But the film captures something real, something that's impossible to fake. Now rewatch that scene. Really look. Is she out dancing Elvis? Can you take your eyes off her? Be honest. Her presence commands a reaction. Her energy explodes from the screen and pulls your attention like a magnet. And behind the scenes, that impact didn't go unnoticed. Whispers of admiration began to mix with murmurs of worry. Something was shifting. A quiet battle for control over the film's spotlight was brewing. So what happened when the cameras stopped rolling? The Colonel's fury and the King's dilemma. When the filming paused, the real drama kicked in. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's fiercely controlling manager, was furious. It wasn't just about Ann Margaret's dancing. The chemistry between Elvis and Ann Margaret was undeniable. So undeniable, in fact, that Parker saw it as a threat. Not a romantic threat, but a professional one. This was supposed to be Elvis's movie. But buzz was already starting to circle around her. Ann Margaret's performance was drawing the spotlight, and Parker didn't like it one bit. He zeroed in on director George Sidney, accusing him of shifting the focus of the film away from Elvis. Parker reportedly warned producers, loud and clear, that this was his star's picture, his brand, his investment. He didn't want any rising star stealing even an inch of Elvis's spotlight. And Ann Margaret? She was starting to look like a supernova. Sidney defended his choices. He said Ann Margaret's energy didn't take away from Elvis. It lifted the film. But Parker wasn't interested in artistic praise. He was focused on one thing, keeping Elvis on top. Tension on set began to boil. Parker made sure everyone knew how unhappy he was. He pushed hard behind the scenes, pressuring the studio to act. And the results were dramatic. Musical numbers were cut. Duets were dropped. Key scenes that showcase their connection, their chemistry, their romance, all vanished from the final film. This wasn't a trim. It was a strategy. 2 major duets, You're the Boss and Today, Tomorrow and Forever, were filmed, rehearsed, and nearly completed. Then they were slashed. You're the Boss was playful, electric, but Today, Tomorrow, and Forever was something else. It was soft, romantic, deeply intimate. In that scene, Elvis sings to Ann Margaret. It was tender, powerful, but it never made it to theaters. Photos and fragments of the scene have surfaced over the years, just enough to hint at what we lost. Sources like Country Rebel have shared stills that show how strong the moment truly was. Cutting it shifted the tone of the entire film. It changed how we remember their romance, and maybe how we understand the whole story. Why were those unforgettable scenes cut? The official excuse was simple, pacing or runtime, but the whispers behind closed doors tell a very different story. Many insiders believe it was Colonel Parker who pulled the plug. The reason? Ann Margaret was shining too bright. Her duets with Elvis gave her too much screen power, too much equality in a film meant to orbit around the king. The Lady Loves Me stayed in the final cut, but something had clearly shifted. The stage was no longer just Elvis's. And here's where it gets deeper. Some say Elvis himself started to complain. According to sources, he even told Parker that director George Sidney was trying to cut him out of the picture. Was this how Elvis really felt? A flash of insecurity? Or was it Colonel Parker feeding him those ideas to keep his control locked in place? It's hard to tell now. Even Fox News later reported Sidney's claim that Elvis grew envious of how much attention Ann Margaret was getting. One result? The final scene was shot in a split screen, giving both stars equal space but separate, a visual truce. So what really happened behind that hot dancing scene? It wasn't just passion on film. It was a spark that ignited a behind-the-scenes power battle, a clash over fame, image, and who truly held the spotlight in an Elvis Presley movie. Ann Margaret's explosive energy lit the screen, but it also triggered alarm bells inside the Presley camp. Colonel Parker's job was to protect the throne, even if that meant sacrificing movie magic to do it. If you were Elvis, how would you feel? Flattered or threatened? Was Parker right to step in? Or did he rob the audience of something extraordinary between 2 stars perfectly in sync? Even with the tension and the cuts, something rare happened between Elvis and Ann Margaret. Something real. But was it true love? Or just a Hollywood illusion with perfect lighting and carefully staged moments? Soulmates or studio smoke? Ann Margaret once said it plainly. Elvis was her soulmate. But was it truly a fairy tale? Or something more bittersweet? In her memoir, My Story, she never calls Elvis the one that got away. Instead, she describes a deeper bond cut from the same cloth. A phrase that doesn't cry for lost romance, but quietly nods to something eternal. Their bond was built on uncanny similarities. Both were raised with little, held on to their faith, and shunned the Hollywood party scene. They loved quiet dinners, long motorcycle rides, and real conversations. She wasn't just another love interest. She was home, and so was he for her. And yes, it got physical. Fast. Elvis's close friends didn't downplay it. It got hot and heavy, said Lamar Fike. They really cared a lot about each other, added Marty Lacker. Men who'd seen Elvis's relationships come and go like passing weather. But Ann Margaret? She was different. Their relationship had its own language. Her letters to Elvis were signed Bunny or Thumper, playful but deeply personal. And Elvis? He had a custom round pink bed made just for her. Not in Graceland. For her. That wasn't casual. But back in Memphis, someone else waited. Priscilla Beaulieu, a young woman who had already given years of her life to Elvis. Her presence hung over everything. Even Ann Margaret admitted it. There were other factors in Elvis's life that forced him apart from me, and I understood them. Those factors weren't just Priscilla. They were duty, brand, empire. Elvis didn't belong to himself anymore. He belonged to Parker, RCA, and the world. There were rumors, too. Was their love real or part of the Viva Las Vegas marketing machine? The truth is likely somewhere in between. The spark began honestly, but Hollywood has a way of turning real emotion into glossy promotion. And soon, things started to shift. Members of Elvis's inner circle began to see Ann Margaret as a threat, not just in love, but in fame. She wasn't just stealing scenes. Some felt she was stealing him. Still, their affection never truly faded. Decades later, Ann Margaret still speaks of Elvis with kindness and deep respect, never bitterness. But even that warmth couldn't hold back what was coming. Fox News once put it bluntly, the romance couldn't last. Why not? Was it the rivalry? The pressure? The public eye? Or was it simply that two blazing flames can't burn forever without turning to ash? Whatever the reason, their story didn't end with a wedding or a pink Cadillac drive into the sunset. It ended in silence. Maybe in another lifetime, that pink bed would have found its place in Graceland. But before we close this chapter, rewind one more time, because the way it ended, that's where the heartbreak really lives. The quiet goodbye, the lingering stares, and one final gesture that spoke louder than anything ever said aloud. Beyond the spotlight, what could have been? Their love may have faded, but the fire they lit in Viva Las Vegas never truly went out. Long after credits rolled and the camera stopped, fans were still asking the same haunting question. What could have been? By the end of the film's run, Ann Margaret wasn't trailing behind Elvis. She was rising fast. She wasn't just a co-star. She was a force, carving her own path through pop culture with her heels high and her head higher. In July 1967, she made her Las Vegas debut, not as someone supporting act, but as the main event. And guess who was in the audience that night, surrounded by his watchful Memphis Mafia? Elvis himself. The king had come to honor the queen he once danced beside. What followed became a private tradition. Every time Ann Margaret opened the show, a special delivery would appear backstage. Flowers shaped like a guitar, always from Elvis, always unmistakable. It wasn't just sweet. It was layered. Respect, love, maybe even quiet rebellion against the image his manager worked so hard to protect. Even in silence, Elvis found a way to say, I remember. At the time of Viva Las Vegas release, most people missed a deeper connection. To the public, their on-screen spark looked like just that, acting. The backstage tension, the rehearsals, the Slash songs, that stayed behind the curtain. Only years later, through memoirs and interviews, did the truth start slipping out. The passion wasn't all performance. The rivalry wasn't fiction. And with that truth, the film's legacy changed. Was Viva Las Vegas just fun music and flashy lights? Or was it powered by something deeper, an unspoken tension too real to fake? Some now say their chemistry ranks among the greatest ever captured on film, not just acting electricity. And here's the question that never stops nagging. What if the duets had stayed? What if Ann Margaret had been allowed to shine just a little brighter? Would that have changed everything for Elvis's career? Could have pulled him towards stronger scripts, more daring roles, and co-stars who push him further? What is certain is this: something rare was captured. Two stars collided, tested each other, and made the screen come alive like never before. So when you rewatch Viva Las Vegas, knowing what we've now revealed, will it feel the same? Or will you start to notice the sideways glances,